This is the Coinage podcast, sponsored by CoinCosmo.com. Have fun like a collector. Think like an investor. Whether you're just a hobbyist or looking for an alternative investment with rare coins, paper money, NFTs, or art, your host, Charles Jonath, is covering it all. Now your host, Charles Jonath.
So, Mohamed, we have Mohamed Alaradi. Did I say that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Okay, good. He's the owner and founder of Arados Auctions. It's an auction house based in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So, Mohamed, I'm super happy to have you because I've seen your company online for a while, and I've seen that you're making a lot of headwaves, and I'm super interested in seeing how these things happen, like different people in the industry that are in different places of the world and how the coin community is over there in different marketplaces within our coin community. So it's super fascinating to me, and I'm curious and excited to see, how does a kid basically from Bahrain get into coins?
Well, I could say my part of the story. I started when I was 13 years old. I just collected the coins or banknotes that, when I traveled to a country or place, and I would collect it. So I think most of us started that way, some way or another. And later on, I think around 2007 or 2008, I upgraded my collection. I started to read books to become more professional. And then in 2012, we established, or we created the first WhatsApp group, 2012, 2013. It was the first GCC group of which, we get to meet people from around the GCC. By GCC, I mean
the Gulf
regional country. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. So we would exchange some information, and then it developed. We would buy and sell through this WhatsApp group. And then in 2017, we had our first auction hall, and it was in a hotel, a 4-star hotel. And since then, we're doing it on a yearly basis. We do it in a mall now. It's called the Sif Mall. It's in the capital.
Wow.
And usually it's under the patronage of the Minister of Sports and Youth. He always, supports us. We have some ambassadors that follows us. I think that, coins are amazing. Even banknotes, it's a historical document at the end. It
right.
records something. And you cannot go wrong with coins or banknotes, even in terms of investment. It's a very good investment. I'm sure you guys know that. It's very lucrative if you know what to buy, when to buy, and to who to sell it at the end.
No,
so basically that's how I started, and I think many of even my followers on Instagram, they started the same way. It's just you had some change from whatever country, you would bring it back home, and then you would read a little bit about it here and there, and then you'll be more interested. Yeah.
Wow. So it just sort of happened organically for you. You just wanted to grow it into a business. And now, do you do this full time or?
No, actually, I'm a bank manager, a relationship manager for the private banking.
Ah, got it.
And it's like a side business, but I'm hoping to, do it a full time at a certain period within a few years.
Definitely. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So how often do you tell us a little bit about your auction house? Like how often do you have auctions? Is it something you're trying to do more of, and then who is your customer base? Is it local or international?
Well, we have, the main event or the big event, it's on January. Unfortunately, we did not do it this year due to the, COVID restrictions and situation. So safety comes first, of course. But usually we do this event, and we have around 50 dealers that come from around the world, from the United States, from UK, from Europe, from Arabian countries. They gather together, and we do it in the mall. So this is my big event. Besides that, we have live auctions on Instagram, and very soon I'm going to launch a mobile app which connects, everyone. Anyone can upload their coin and sell it. We would just take a minor commission or a minor fee just to keep it running. So it will be something I'm excited of. It will connect the East and the West. We can put it that way.
Interesting. Wow. So, most of the people most of your customers right now that are consigning and then also bidding are in the Middle East, or do you have
No,
international people yet?
it's international.
It's
It's a mix
international.
of
Okay.
yeah. And let's not forget, because I'm a banker and I deal with customer service, and also I always keep this touch with my customers in Arados. That's why I'm happy that many of them come back. Of course, you cannot make everyone happy, but a lot of them do trust us. They would ask us also for valuation. Some of them also offer that they would pay some funds or whatever, and we run it for them like an investment. But I said it's too early for
it's
that.
a lot
But
to manage. Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's just I get it. It's simpler just to have a basic business model. Like, I think the auction house serves its purpose, and then especially, I mean, you would probably are you like the only one for coins there, or?
No, we have a community for banknotes and coins, but the difference between me and them, and they're we're on good terms and they're friends and family, but I travel a lot. I focus a lot on the media, of course, in terms of TV, in terms of podcasts, the newspaper. So that's why I would appear more than the rest. But we do have a big community actually in Bahrain and in the Gulf region.
Wow. So how's the coin collecting community there? I'm fascinated. Like, is it almost like the States? You guys have trade shows and stuff like that, or how does that all work kind of there? Like, what is the community like?
Well, compared to the United States market is a matured market. You see a big community, a lot of frequent events, all over the place. Ours, I would call it, it's a new market. It has a lot of potential. Of course, the interest would vary. I mean, in the States, they will concentrate more on the United States coinage, which is, a huge market. I've always wanted to get into this market, but it will take a lot of reading. And in Bahrain or in the GCC, they would focus obviously on the, let's say, Islamic or Western or Eastern history more. However, I try from my my Instagram to educate people. There is some other coins rather than just focusing on your regional coins. There is other countries that you should collect in. So I'm trying to do this, but as I said, it's a new market over here, but it grabs a lot of attention. I'll give you a proof for that also. When the COVID started, which was beginning of 2020, I had 1,500 followers on Instagram. I didn't focus much on Instagram. I had my main event, and that's that. I didn't do live auctions or whatever. Right now, we're talking about 7,000 followers. You'll say, okay, 7,000, that's nothing. Well, it's a niche market. It's a new market.
Right.
And they are active followers. Whatever I post, they're actively liking, commenting, or sharing the posts. So 7,000 for Bahrain or a niche market in the GCC, I think it's awesome. It's awesome.
Wow. That's really cool to see, man. So you would say it's growing there then, definitely in the Middle East, like?
Yes, rapidly, and we've got a few businessmen that I try to contact them through my bank, to open an account with me in the bank, and they wouldn't give me an appointment, but years pass by. This same guy would call me and he's like, "Can you evaluate my collection?" I'm like, "Wow, I tried to meet you when I was in the bank, and now they're coming to me." So yes, there is a market for it, and it's growing. It is growing. Yes. So I'm very optimistic.
Out of all the the numismatics there, what is the attention mostly on? Like, what's the focus? Is it international? Do you think ancient coins have more appeal, or is it early Islamic coins?
It's I would put it into three categories, or four actually. It's more into the ancient, of course, the Umayyad dynasty, Abbasid dynasty. That's from the Islamic category. The Western category, we've got the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, even the Sassanid Empire. I've seen a lot of collectors that focus on the Sassanid Empire.
Yeah, being how close it is.
Yes, it's just. I think also that we played it smart in a bit because I try to connect all these empires together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and people would read a historical book about the Byzantine Empire, for example, and then I would show them the coin, for example. Like I would hold the coin of Heraclius the Great, and Heraclius the Great was mentioned in Islamic text, if you believe it or not. It's amazing. So when you read about him and then you see his coin, it's like you're bringing this character back to life.
Wow.
So that's what I try to focus on.
Wow. Okay. He was mentioned in Islamic text. What text in specific?
You would find it in a book called Sirat ibn Hisham. Sirat ibn Hisham is a book that talked about the biography, basically, of the Prophet. You will find him also in a book called Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari, yeah, it's a book that has all the sayings or actions of the Prophet, besides some other comments. The story goes as follows. I won't stay long on the story, but I'll just mention the outlines. It was there was some merchants that came from Mecca, and they were in Levant, and obviously Heraclius was there, and the Prophet sent him a letter, and this letter he tried to persuade him to become a Muslim according to the text. So Heraclius, before reading the text, he asked, from where this letter came, and they told him from Mecca, from the Arabs. And he asked anyone related to him. And they started looking around, and they found, merchants from Mecca. So they brought a man called Abu Sufyan, and he wasn't Muslim back then. And he started asking him questions about this prophet or this man. He told him, tell me about this man. Who is his followers? Are they, the rich people or the poor people? And Abu Sufyan would say, it was the poor people, they follow it. And then he told him, are the followers growing or they're declining? And he would say, well, they are growing. And he kept asking him questions. This is according, of course, to the Islamic text. Right. And then, he showed respect to the Prophet. And he's like, this man is a respectful man. This is according to our Islamic text. We put it that way. So when you read this text and you think about it, and Heraclius the Great, he was a great empire. I've read a lot about him. Actually, I'm writing a book called Heraclius and the Arabs, but I'm keeping it for my PhD. So hopefully, it will be my PhD research. I have all his collection.
So that'll be for your thesis then?
Exactly.
Got it.
But according to this text, he showed the respect for the Prophet. Mm-hmm. Now, you wouldn't find this text in the Western side because, back then the Arabs did not have an empire yet. They were still nomads. They were still weak. But at least you can find this text. Later on, you will find, the Arabs are mentioned during the Umayyad dynasty and the wars, even the Rashidun era and the wars with Heraclius. But this is a very early text, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So it's a direct connection to historical figures and something that celebrate. I mean, those like al hadith, as we say, like is a highly studied text. I know in the religion of Islam. Yeah, that's fascinating. So you think that the ancient stuff has more of appeal because it has historical context in the region?
Yes. And because also if we took it from this side, for example, the Abbasid dynasty, I just did a live lecture past, I think, 2 weeks about Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, who happens to be the second Abbasid Khalifa. It's amazing that we live amongst people. Their family name is Al-Abbasi. And this guy is their great-grandfather.
Right.
And I would give a lecture about them, and I would see, the followers, a lot of them had the family of Al-Abbasi, and I'm like, you guys should collect his coins, whether you buy it from me or not. You should collect his coins because he's your grandfather, You see how history, it brings people together if you used it in a proper way. By proper way, I mean, history is dangerous. I'm sure you know that, because you could use it in a good way to spread the let's say understanding. I understand that you
Right.
come from an empire and I come from a different empire.
Right.
I don't hold the full truth. We're learning from each other, but I
Right.
respect you and your culture and your history, and I expect the same from anyone. This is
100%.
the
Yeah.
good. This is the good way of using history, but some people use history to spread hate, and it's bad.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
bad. So coins, to me, it connects these eras together. This is a proof and evidence that people actually lived.
It's very exciting for me to see. I think the region you're in has so much potential for collecting and building the community of collectors. I mean, it's grown a lot. I know I actually have a client who's in Abu Dhabi who collects US coins, believe it or not. And I've sold him pieces, and it's fascinating. Like he was trying to tell me about it, and he says that really it's just getting started there. Like some of his friends are starting to ask him questions about coins and to collect more. And I thought that was great. I mean, I think it's a very powerful tool, not only as a means of preserving history, but it's also a big storehouse of value, and it becomes a whole alternative asset class that can exist, throughout the world and be a useful tool for people from a financial perspective. So I think, with those two combined, it's really very cool. It makes something that serves its purpose as a financial tool, but also brings you joy, and it is a hobby essentially. I mean, you can collect this stuff. So and work to build collections, engage in building collections. It's really fun. So, I mean, I know like there with grading coins, I seen you there, you're holding a coin in an NGC holder. So how are people submitting coins there? I know they have foreign offices, right? Do you send coins to be graded in Europe, or do you have to send them all the way to the States?
Well, I am an actual somewhat dealer because I do have the dealer's agreement with NGC.
Okay.
I didn't fulfill it. I didn't use it, although I could, and I have the user. But
got it.
I send it through a friend of mine who happens to be a dealer in Dubai, and then he sends it to the US. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I help you, you help me. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. I know he's making some profit out of it, but again, when I need him in my banknote fair and coins fair, he would be there. So I do it on purpose through him. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No. So I know. I think with NGC, you have to go all the way then to the States. Wow. It takes a long time to get your coins back, or usually, or.
Oh yes, it's and one of the things, since we mentioned that, it's still a new market. When I get my coins back, I always, or I wouldn't say always, let's say 80% of the time, when there is gold coins in the package, in the FedEx package, it has to go to the customs. And our customs, they don't know what to do with it, and they would send it to they would send it to the museum. And the funny thing is, I would call the officer in customs. He knows me. He knows my name. I know him. We happen to become, somewhat friends. He recognized me. Yeah.
That's great.
I'm like, hey, did you send it to the museum or still? He's like, yeah, I'm going to send it today. So you just call them, and I would call the museum later on. And did you receive the letter from the customs regarding the coins? Well, yeah, we did. Okay, please, handle it so I could get my coins. It's frustrating sometimes, but you have to deal with it that way. And the idea behind that, I think they have a law in the region that anything that is above 100 years old, it has to go to the museum, because they're afraid, I'm maybe doing business with the history of the country, which I don't.
Right.
Yeah. One of my very first encounters was with this officer. I told him, "Do you see the coin in your hand?" And he's like, "Yeah." His English was not that good, so I'm like, "What do you read?" And it's like, here. I told him Hercules. He said, "Okay, Hercules." I said, "Well, Hercules, did he rule Bahrain?" And he's like, "No." Then why do you have it? Just give me my coin. Just give it to me.
That's great. That's so fun. It's that new. Like everything is wow. You know, you're in a really cool position, man. You're, you know, that's your home country, Bahrain, right? I would imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So building a community there, and like you're going to be like the main guy for coins there, which is cool. And you know, like I said, there's so much growth potential there. And I think, you know, with education and, you know, the right education and getting people, you know, to learn about coins, and I would imagine it's definitely growing.
Yes. And even if you could see the Islamic coinage in auctions like Heritage or Spink or, you know, other well-known auctions, you will see the prices went up.
Yeah,
they doubled basically.
It's very hard. I think it, if I'm not mistaken, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but early Islamic coins, it's very hard to find them. Like, I don't think it was, I think the earliest ones you won't find for like at least 100 to 200 years after the death of the Prophet, right?
Exactly. And the reason is because during the era of the Prophet, they were using the Byzantine coins. The Heraclius coin was used by the Prophet.
Okay. Interesting.
That's why he knew him. You know, they didn't have internet back then. So they had his coins. So they knew him because of his coins. Wow. So they were using the Byzantine coinage during, you know, Heraclius and Phocas, who happens to be before him, and Maurice Tiberius, and what was the other guy? Constant Tiberius II and Justin II. Those are the emperors that lived during the Prophet era.
Wow.
4 of them was before the prophethood, and Heraclius was during the prophethood. So all those 5 kings, they were, you know, people used their dinars or their solidus during that time. And for silver, they were using the Sassanid Empire silver coins. So we did not have coins until 77 Hijri, which is around 650 AD, I think so. That's during the era of the Umayyad Khalifa, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. I think I have his coin here, yes.
Wow.
This is the second strike.
It's hard to see on the camera, but I've seen that before. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a gold piece too. Very nice coin. Beautiful coin.
It's an MS also, the only MS for 78 Hijri, the only one in NGC.
So would you say, like, do you have a special, is that something like you would specialize in? Do you think you're more knowledgeable about that type of coinage, or like, do you have some sort of specialty that you wanted to focus on, or?
I focus on 4 empires, to be honest. It's the Umayyad Empire and the Abbasid Empire, the late Byzantine Empire from Heraclius onwards, and the pre-Islamic Arab coinage, the Himyarite dynasty, the Nabatean dynasties, because even in our part of the world, and I think it's wrong. I'm speaking now just out of history. It's nothing to do with faith or anything, but what we've been taught in school, you know, the civilization came with Islam. Okay, Islam did do something nice to the civilization and all, but there were many older civilizations that were pre-Islamic, like the Nabatean, like the Himyarite dynasty. They didn't teach us that at school. You know, I think it's not fair. And there is no certain book that talks specifically about these empires. So I'm trying to work on that. There is a lot of projects. I don't know if I have time to do all that, but
I mean, you're in the cradle of civilization. I mean, that's the earliest known civilizations came from there. So it's really, it is almost the center of the world in a sense.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, it's fascinating. But I had a question too, and maybe you can answer, like going back to what we were talking about earlier about the different coinage that were used in early times when the Prophet was alive. I know you mentioned that they were using Byzantine coins like King Phocas and that kind of coinage.
Exactly.
And then also the Herodotus coins, which were like Roman stuff. But did the tribes like the Quraysh have their own coinage or? Okay.
No, they didn't. It's also mentioned in the Quran. I'm sorry, I'm not a religious person, but I think I look at Quran or the Bible
just naturally from a historical perspective. Let's say
exactly. That's why I'm relating back to it, because it's 1,400 years old. They mentioned in a chapter called Quraysh, the Quran mentioned there is two business trips that the people of Quraysh would do, one to Levant and one to Yemen, and this is mentioned in the Quran. So this is how the Byzantine coinage came. And if you want me to give you specifically which emperor, it was the Emperor Zeno. So yes, the Emperor Zeno of the Byzantine Empire. His coins were the very first, or one of the first coinage that were used in Quraysh, and they dealt with it as gold. They called it dinar, although it's solidus as we call it in the Byzantine teachings, but they call it dinar. And the Sassanid Empire, of course, I think it was from Shapur II, if I'm not mistaken, they used it for the dirhams. Also, some studies indicate that they were using also the Kingdom of Axiom, which happens to be Ethiopia today. They used their coins, besides the Himyarite coins, obviously from Yemen. So all these coins would come. And that's why, the people of the tribe or the family of the Prophet, they called them the Hashemites. They didn't call them the Muhammads or the other names. Hashim is the great grandfather of the Prophet, and obviously there is somebody that is his father who's happened to be Abdul Manaf or whatever, and we believe that he came from Ishmael, the prophet, or the son of Abraham. Why did the people of the family of the Prophet stop and they called themselves as Hashemites? They didn't extend to go back to Abraham. They stopped on Hashemites. They called themselves Hashemites because he was the guy that came up with the idea of traveling to Yemen and Levant and bringing these coinage.
Wow.
So yes, that's why they stopped at his name. And this is very common, by the way, in our culture. If you have a great grandfather and he did something amazing, usually your family name by time will change to his name. You understand? Because
got it. So that becomes like the last, like would be our last name or something. Like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's
a surname
out of pride. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So I mean, like now with your auctions and stuff like that, I know you're doing one auction basically a year. Is that correct?
We do the big haul auction, which is once a year. However, my live auctions on Instagram, it's on a monthly basis. Every end of the month, there is an auction.
That's what I wanted to get straight. Okay, so like you're doing the live auctions on Instagram, but then the official ones are just like you do one big one a year. So like, is that an online only, or are you hosting? You're doing like you
online
have a live
and a whole
auction essentially.
It will be a live auction with online participants. You could participate online or through the hall. Yeah.
Got it. So, I mean, like now, since the whole pandemic, I guess it's changed your business. You see, you're doing a lot more online, I would imagine, right? Or
I do more online. I do more coins. If you go a few years back, 2019 and before that, I would do banknotes more, just few coins. But with the pandemic, I've seen people buying gold. And to me, gold is, it's the traditional investment. Of course, it is good. But at least in my region, I cannot compete with those people that have, invested in gold with $250,000. I cannot compete with them. He has, the overhand and the upper hand in the prices. So at least I would buy a historical coin, silver or gold, that has a historical premium. So I have a competitive advantage at least.
Yeah, well, so bullion and rare coins are two different things, right? It's like two different mindsets. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, definitely. And I imagine like bullion has already been established there. Like everyone's had a bullion market for forever, it seems, right? So
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I get you. But yeah, it's great that you're focusing on numismatics. I mean, that's really why I wanted to talk to you more, because I know like there's probably several bullion people throughout the region, but numismatics is a whole other field, and it's having value in something that is unique and not just like you're buying gold for the weight, essentially. I mean, the difference is dramatic. Do you see people interested there in the Middle East, like in American coinage, or?
Oh, yes. I've got a few requests here and there. Sometimes, they're looking for American historical coins. Again, due to the demand that I have in the market, which is more leaning towards the ancient coins and the Islamic coins, I supply more of these, but I'm open for any special request. I do have a network that I could, look here and there and get them the request. But yes, I mean, the American market, it's an established market. It's a mature market.
Right.
You will definitely find people here and there that are looking for the American coin banknotes.
So I'm curious to see, like, what is your whole take on the registry set system and how we have it in America with the different type coinages and stuff? How you could showcase the collections online and all that. I mean, do you think that would have some kind of appeal if it was done like with more ancient coins? Because I don't think there's anything like that, right, for ancient coins yet.
Well, I see now that they're focusing more into having this register for the ancient coins. I do have some incidents that I'm sure that there is other Byzantine coins for Hercules, for example, but you wouldn't find it on the register. But in other words, or on the other hand, I mean, you would find, for example, there is the registry for Islamic coins is growing. I use it into my advantage, to be honest, because when I hold.
How do you find that, Mohamed?
Basically through the websites like Domisbids, for example, or the NGC certificate finder. You put the reference number and you will get the whole Excel sheet for that.
Oh, okay. So NGC does have a registry set for like Islamic coins.
Yes.
Wow.
It's growing now. I have a collection for the Umayyads caliphs in Levant, which happen to be 9-10 people. All of them are MS. I mean, I don't have every single year they rule, but for every king, I would have at least 1 dinar of his collection, which is an MS also. I focus that they are an MS.
That's very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. How long did it take you to get all those coins?
I'm really aggressive. If I want something, I would.
You go for it.
Yeah. So it's a year and a half.
Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good. So, do you have them in a registry set online, or?
I'm using just the NGC registry. I don't have a registry set for Arados yet, and the reason is because we were switching to the mobile app. And we had many different ideas for it. We were like, okay, we're going to have a registry set for our own collection or for the items that we sold. But sometimes you get lazy, to be honest. Life happens, and I didn't do it yet. So I'm just depending on the NGC grading. I always grade through their website, and I use the registry for that.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I mean, I get it. And that's cool though that they're building out that registry set system and stuff like that. I wish NGC would be better on the photographs though. Sometimes their photographs are good and not. I mean, here in the US, like PCGS is sort of like the predominant for US coins. So like PCGS is, I think they've really innovated, and they got such great photography with the TrueView system and stuff like that. I mean, I would love to see some of these ancient coins like photographed really well and showcased in the proper way, like that.
The thing is, in our region, it's a bit different. NGC has a bigger market share,
right,
in this region, and as I mentioned, it's a new market with the historical coins. So people would be just happy to see their coin. Whatever resolution it is on the NGC register,
Oh, yeah.
I do have PCGS coinage, but they are more of Spanish coins.
Got it. Okay.
After the fall of Andalusia. I do have them in the PCGS holders.
Got it.
But it's different. As I mentioned, the US market is mature. The collectors are already very knowledgeable. They're very aware of their coinage, their market. It's very different. But again, in my place, in my region, there is a huge potential for growth.
Definitely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Is there a coin shop in Bahrain?
There is, but it's the very traditional coin shop. They wouldn't grade it. You would see it just in a raw album or a raw holder. And if you would ask him, if it's original or not, he'd say, I don't know. But now within the 2 or 3 years, I started to see people that are, really focused on, I have to get it graded, I have to get it evaluated. They're very professional now. I know quite few now that they have these shops, and it's nice because some of them try to go through my path to mimic, my path in terms of buying and selling ancient coins, and they do a bit of reading, and it's nice. It's flattering at the end. Let me show you something. I'm talking to you. This is one of my libraries. I'm sorry. I'm just. I bought these books. I have to sort them, but yes, with Coinage.
You're like me. You're just. Dude,
there is a lot
you
of
should see
things.
I got books everywhere too. I know how it is. A lot of those books are all coin books, like numismatics.
Many of them, but many of them are historical books to me because, at the end, if I held, for example, the coin of Heracles, and I told you, well, this is Heracles, he's alone in this portrait coin, and this is the crucifixion, the cross, and this is like 2 stairs below it, and that's it. Okay, I gave you some information, but reading the historical books, you would understand why did he use the cross, for example? Why did he wear the soldier armor in his first portrait? Because he revolted against Phocas, for example. And he removed the angel. If you will compare it to the coin of Phocas, Phocas had an angel at the backside of his coin. Heracles removed the angel and he used the cross instead, because Heracles, he believed that it's forbidden to use the portraits of Jesus, of Mary, of the angel. So that's why he removed it.
No,
Christianity
it comes from the early Bible not to use the imagery and stuff like that. For sure.
Exactly. So, for example, also if we have, if you're aware of the emperor, I'm sorry if it doesn't show on the camera properly.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the camera.
Okay, this is Decius or Decius, which is the Roman Empire. A Roman emperor. People buy and sell his coin, but do you know that he is the guy that lived during the era of the 7 sleepers, which were mentioned in the Christianity traditional books, not in the Bible, but in part of their culture or traditions.
Yeah,
the 7 guys that went into the cave and they slept. And then they woke up, I think, after 150 or 300 years, something like that, during the reign of Theodosius. This exact story is mentioned also in the Quran. It's called Surah Al-Kahf. It talks about them.
Right, where they were sleeping for several hundred years, right?
Exactly. So if I just read, the description of the coin, okay, I will give you some nice information about it. But why did he use this portrait? What's the history behind it? What's the story that comes with it? Then you need to read history books, not just coinage and
But it's amazing you read that, and then you could hold that piece of that in your hand, and it's wow, it's like there it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's amazing.
Even I'm sorry I go back and forth with Heracles, but because I really admire this emperor. I really do, and I will share his pictures with you. You could use them in even on your website if you like. That's fine. I have 2 coins of Heracles. He's portrayed with the arbor, like he's entering a war. and they're very identical. Two of the coins. I'm going to share the picture. If you look at the backside, you will see the cross. One of them has 3 steps below the cross, and the other one has 2 steps. And it's not a mistake. This was done because during the second Sassanid Byzantine Empire, the Emperor Heraclius was faced with defeat, and Khosrow II, which is the Sassanid emperor, he entered Palestine, and he saw the cross that had Jesus crucified on it according to the Christianity teachings, and he took it back to Istakhar, which is back to Iran. So Heraclius was very angry. He removed 1 step from the cross.
Wow.
An indication, of sadness, like, when you pull down the flag if somebody dies, or, and he kept it 2 steps under the cross until he got it back in 630 AD. Imagine. So It's the same coin, but there is a small minor difference. You cannot find it that way. You have to read the history.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you got that from books and stuff like that for looking at the coinage of ancient coins and stuff like that, I would imagine.
Yes. And it's funny sometimes that, when I sell a coin during my auction, it's live. I would speak the way I speak, and, I would hold the coin, or a friend of mine would hold the coin in the camera, and, it will be focused on it. And I will give some information about it, and people get excited and buy it. And then they will receive it, and they're like, Mohammed, where's the story that comes with it? I'm like, what story? He said, the story with the coin. Well, this is my work.
The story helps sell the coin, though, too, I think. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. You will get it in an NGC slab. That's all you'll get at the end. Watch my auction back to get the information that you want. So,
right.
Yeah.
No, definitely. There has to be education. I mean, you have to know exactly what you're buying and why it's valuable, Another question I wanted to ask you, Mohammed, is like specifically in the Gulf region and stuff, is there like, let's say if you go to Dubai and Abu Dhabi and in the Emirates, do they actually have coin shops there, or is it more popular there, or which country really has like, it has more of an established coin community in the Gulf?
I think it's 3 countries, if I put it that way, from my observation. It will be UAE, of course, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain. You will find the market everywhere, even in Oman, even in Qatar. But I'm telling you this because the collector of these 3 countries, I mean Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Dubai, they are open more into buying other stuff, not just things that are related to their countries. And to me, this is very important, because if you're going to buy just things for Bahrain, well, Bahrain,
small,
it's and it's not a big collection. Once you have the full collection, what you're going to do? So you have to be open to other countries to buy them. So I think this is from one side. Another side, I based it on the activities that I see. The strongest, auctions now, thank God, is Arados, at least in the region. And there is competition in Saudi Arabia. There is a strong competition in Dubai. And, we work together, because if they succeed, I would succeed too. But they're very active. And I think these 3 countries do actually have, a big potential for growth. And I could see it. The community is growing. The shops are increasing, especially in Dubai. I mean, when I started, they had just 2 shops. Now we're talking 15 plus shops. Yeah. So
that's amazing. Doing like collectible coins, huh?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. I guess so do they combine it there? Like, do they do collectible coins and bullion as well at the same coin shop, or is it separate?
It's separate.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
The bullions, you'll find them more in gold shops or jewelry shops. But the coins is just, you will see coins mostly. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So does the public, you think, have coins at home? Like, is there old, like Bahraini coins that are silver that they probably have that they don't know are valuable? Is it like that? Because I know here in the States, we have like our money used to be silver. So we have the old 90%, the dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Is there something similar there in that region?
A lot. A lot, yes, a lot.
Got it.
And sometimes, I would announce that we're open to evaluating or buying the coins that you have, and it's a nice opportunity because you would get some really rare coins and
Yeah, I
banknotes
would
sometimes.
imagine. Yeah. So
Exactly,
you
but
do then you essentially do appraisals.
exactly, I call it free appraisal, and then I would give them a counter offer for that or an offer for that. But
Got it.
sometimes it's hectic because a lot of them, they would approach me and say, this is a very rare coin, and I inherited this from my grandfather. And I look at the coin and it's worth $20, but I cannot tell them that. I have to be very respectful. So I would,
know that it's universal. It's the same thing here too.
Yeah,
That's everywhere around the world, it seems. Yeah, no, for sure. That's the thing when you deal with the public, everyone, because they don't know, they're not into coins or whatever, and then they're just going by what they were told. Someone thought that, honestly.
Yeah.
So definitely, you have to be respectful and just try and explain it to them in a nice way.
Exactly. I remember an incident. A guy approached me. He had some Umayyad coins. And he's like, I inherited from my grandfather who happens to inherit it from his father. And, he gave me the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's nice. That's cool. And he gave me, this paperwork that he done on each and every coin. He did, some research, and I appreciate the work. And I'm like, okay, what do you want for that? Do you want to sell it? You want to evaluate it? It? What do you want exactly? He's like, no, I want to sell it. Okay. How much are you looking for? And he told me $1 million. And I looked at his collection, and it's silver mostly, and they're clipped, and they're in a bad quality, and they're not graded also. So he was, to be honest, his collection was around maybe $4,000. $4,000, $1 million. It's a big difference.
Disparity.
So I had to sweet talk, and I told him, I'll take a look at it. So after 2 days, I called him, and I'm like, I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate that you shared this, sentimental story with me about your grandfather. But here's the numbers, here's the figures.
Yeah,
and I can send you links to some auctions to compare the prices. To make sure that I'm giving you a fair price.
Right. So you could see I'm being accurate. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So like when you do, that's interesting. It brings up a question actually. So when you're sending them those links and stuff, the auctions that you're looking for that type of coinage, who does primarily do that stuff? Is it like Krunkerts in Germany, or is it here like Heritage even, or?
Heritage is one of the benchmarks that many people use to get the prices.
Got it.
Again, it's the auction prices is not a Bible at the end. I'll tell you why. I mean, it happened to me. Many coins, they were sold for very cheap price. One of them was the Umayyads of Andalusia. It was sold for $3,000. I believe it's worth for $5,000. So I gave the guy a counter offer, due to the time difference. I slept. It was during my sleep time. It was in late night. I gave him a counter offer. I added $500 on. He bought it for $3,000 with the commission of Heritage and whatever.
Right.
So I added $500, and the counter offer was $5,200.
Yeah.
So people know
what they're buying. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So you cannot come to me and tell me, oh, it was sold in Heritage for $3,000, and this is a proof. Well, look at the counter offer. How much he's willing to sell it now.
That's the thing. Go find the coin. They're not always easy. I mean, it's hard to get a hold.
Exactly.
That's why these things are rare, right? Like you can't. When they come on the market, sometimes they go unnoticed. Especially in a smaller niche market like that, where there's not a lot of the auction houses don't build up a lot of attention to every single coin. I feel like they do more so with the U.S. stuff.
Exactly. You cannot compare. The U.S. market is is way mature, way bigger. Many buyers are there. So yes, obviously they'll focus with the US coins.
Here right now, I mean, since the pandemic, like we've seen, you know, prices just going. It seems like every auction we keep breaking records. I mean, is it similar there and with foreign coins or?
Yes.
Wow.
If you see, I have in my highlights, it's a paper note, but many people refer to it. I sold the 10 dinars of King Faisal I, the king of Iraq. It was sold for around $45,000 US.
Wow.
In a small market in Bahrain, that's a big number. Maybe in Heritage, it's nothing. But I checked with them, and they're like, oh, it's a good figure. It's a very good figure that you sold it for $45,000 US. Same thing with the coins. I mean, the higher the coins are in terms of grade, they will reach for four digits.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's getting crazy over here. I mean, U.S. market, everything. I think, I don't know. It's just people are looking for a good alternative investment and something different because, you know, at some point you can't keep throwing money into the stock market. Bonds are not paying anything interest. I mean, think of it like this: like you as a banker should know this. You're buying like take for example a stock like Verizon. Okay. The dividend payout on that is less than what we were used to be able to get on treasuries. So just imagine you're taking equity risk, and it's basically now like a bond would have been in the old days, like not that long ago. Let's say 10 years ago. So it's just, you know, you can't. It's so difficult to find the yield, and in a market with inflation, I mean, I don't know. I think people are going to have to start rethinking about how to be smarter about investing in diversification. And, you know, if you look at, I keep saying this, I don't know if you watched any of my other podcasts, but I tried to compare the coin market to the art market. And if you look at all the moving parts, the sort of, how do I want to call this? The ecosystem of coins, in the support that's there in order to establish value and uphold value. I think it's actually stronger than what you see in art. So, but when you look at auction prices and the demand for art, there's a huge disparity. So even though we're seeing higher prices in rare coins, I think something's got to give, because if you bridge that gap there, we have a long way to go to the upside, I believe, in coins. I think it's just getting started. Whereas some people maybe that are been in coins for years are like, oh, you know, now we're getting to the high points in the market. But I don't see it as that. And then what big collections are going to come to the market? Like a lot of these guys who are very sharp, very knowledgeable, very wealthy, have spent the last 10 years acquiring the best collections they could buy at any price they could get it. And they're not going to sell those coins ever, probably. So given their age, I mean, let's say, you know, they probably won't come to market for at least 15 years.
Yeah.
So
true.
All the dynamics are there for this bull run in numismatics to continue, I think.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think it's time also for you know, the let's say, not so collectors to look for alternatives, as you mentioned. I mean, instead of buying real estate and buying cars or stocks or whatever, try also coins. I'm not saying that, you know, the traditional investment is wrong.
Right. No, 100%. You have to have those. But what happens when you have those? And do you want to keep pouring as other money's coming in? Are you going to keep dumping into the same thing?
Exactly.
No, I mean, a good, you know, a percentage of your portfolio, a reasonable like 5% to even 10% or 12%, I think is totally acceptable, you know? Exactly.
And
you can rebalance as new money comes in.
Yes, very true. Very true. And it's very lucrative. I mean, besides the fun of collecting it, I always call them my Lego collection. You remember the Legos? It's like Legos.
Yeah.
And besides, having fun collecting them, maintaining history, it's a lucrative business. It's a very lucrative business. Again, you have to learn the hard way. Sometimes you'd buy something and then I overpaid for it, but that's how you learn.
It's just like anything else. You have to know what you're doing. It's you have to pay your dues. You have to spend the time. You really have to get knowledgeable. You have to learn it. I mean, it's the old adage, the old 10,000 hours. Like eventually, you get to a point where you can do it on your own, and then really be knowledgeable. And if you're not knowledgeable, but you want to invest in the market, it's always advisable to find someone that's really knowledgeable and who's trustworthy. And if you find the right dealer to work with, it makes all the difference in the world. If you find the wrong one, it'll ruin your whole experience, and you'll lose. You know what I mean? But you work with the right person, invaluable. So
true. And that's another thing. I mean, in the US and European market, you actually have dealers. You have agents, you have dealers. In our part of the world, there are dealers, but they are very few. And that shows, the difference. I know some that, he's just a dealer. He doesn't have any other job. And he's not even a collector. He's just good with coins.
Really? Wow.
And he has a good network. Yeah.
That's great.
And they're making really well. It's like he's a broker.
Right. I mean, that's great. I mean, I see do you see that growing?
Yes.
So probably, I can imagine in the next 10 years, there's going to be more people like that in your region.
I'm thinking with the next 5 years, the growth that I'm seeing now. Yes. And many people, by the way, are switching from paper money to coins. Many from the people that I know. So
easier to preserve and no, definitely. Yeah. So what's next then for Arados Auctions? Arados Auctions.
Well, we try to do something by December because we had canceled our big show. We will launch the mobile application of which anyone could buy and sell coins and collectibles. I'm filming something on Friday. If you remember, I sent you a clip on YouTube, something similar.
Right.
It will be on Alexander the Great and his history in the region.
Wow,
and there will be some text from the Old Testament, from the Quran, because he's mentioned in an indirect way in both. So it will be interesting to bring it all together and blend it with the history. So that will be on Friday also. And our occasional auction every month, every end of the month, we have the auction.
Got it. So those links to all that stuff, is that going to be on your Instagram?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So how do we tell the audience, how do we find you on Instagram?
It's Arados 1, ARADOS 1. That's our Instagram. Our website is aradosauctions.com. We are updating the website because some people say, where are the newer pictures? I'm like, okay, we're going to the mobile app. Just give me some time. I have a day job.
Yeah.
But this is our website. Yeah. And the mobile application will be called Your Biz, as in your business, URBIZ. And it's ready. I'm just, doing the last touches for it. I want to make sure that everyone has a safe and secure platform to do the transactions. And it's nice because Arados, unlike many auction houses in the region, for example, they focus on the people of the area. My auction, it brings the West and East. If it's not for COVID, I would be traveling in the US and Germany and European countries presenting Arados to the collectors. And, you should come visit Bahrain. You should give it a try.
Yeah.
And I'm extending the invitation for you and your crew members also.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to come for sure. So I have friends in the region. I have one client in the region. So yeah, and then I definitely want to come see you and hey, I've never been to Bahrain, so it'll be a great experience, I'm sure.
It's a very friendly and cozy country. It has the modern touch and the historical touch. It's nice. I mean, everyone that started with me in 2017, they are coming back and they're growing. And if you have a good experience, they would do the market word of mouth, and they would bring their friends, and more dealers would come.
Right.
I mean, 50 dealers. This is the last auction that we had, the last banknote fair. It's a good figure. We were aiming this year for 70 dealers, but the COVID situation canceled everything. But we are still doing the publicity, doing the marketing to bring more people. So yes, please join us, and
definitely.
I extend the invitation.
Thanks. Yeah. No. So if the pandemic, God willing, slows down a bit and we're able to get more control of the virus, and they start doing they start doing trade shows again in Germany. Like, have you ever been to the Numismata before?
No, not yet.
Oh,
no.
Cool. You got to go. Yeah. Once things open up again, it's a very cool show. I went once. So
yes,
a lot of international guys, a lot of guys with ancients, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like show in New York, but they have it 4 times a year or 3 times a year or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
I wanted to attend, but this year everything got canceled, and even in my day job, it's I deal with targets, so it's very tough to get people to convince them to put their money at the bank, for a fixed deposit at this time. So work needs it's also hours and work to be put in. So hopefully when things gets better, I will be traveling, of course.
Awesome. Well, it was great talking to you, Mohamed, and I thank you so much for coming on the show. This was really informative for me, and I'm so curious to see how our industry is taking foot in other regions of the world, and I think there's so much growth potential in it overall. And it's great to get a perspective from someone who's leading the charge in the Middle East like yourself. So, I've been watching you online, definitely.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and pleasure. This is, by the way, my first ever English podcast. So
is it really? Wow.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you did me first, right?
Thank you. It's an honor. I'm really happy that you picked me, and I hope that I gave you some new information, at least something for your followers, something excited.
Definitely.
And we'll see you again, hopefully in another podcast or in Bahrain, hopefully.
Yeah, Bahrain would be the best. We'll see. I definitely want to get out there. I don't know when exactly yet. It's hard to say, but hopefully, maybe this year even, maybe.
Yes, I'm trying to aim the second half of the year towards November, December, but I have to see. People celebrate Christmas over there, so I have to be cautious also with the dates that I'll choose. But if it happens, it will be something around that time, or next year on January, which we always do it on the last week of January. That's usually our dates for the show.
Perfect. All right. Perfect. That would be very cool. Well, we'll definitely keep in touch, and then we'll play it by ear and see whether I come out there and I see you, and then when you come out here, I could come see you and stuff like that. So
thank you.
That'd be great.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Mohamed,
thank you so much.
Take care. It was great and nice to see you. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Right?
Correct. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. But thank you. Bless you.
Bye.
Thank you.